What's going on, guys? It's Shu here, bringing you another review on Spy Family. Now, this episode, I gotta say, was interesting for the first half. Second half, it's sad. That's basically the best way to describe it, and not in a good way because it's a backstory to Lloyd. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we start this episode with the arrival of a new teacher, someone who is not a good thing. And this teacher being, I believe her name is Donna, and she is basically like an enforcer on the rules. Think about Dolores Umbridge from Harry Potter, basically. And this person, she basically comes in and gives out the Tenebris bolts, whatever it's called, the Taunter bolts, whatever. We'll just call them bolts because I don't like the word. And so she hands out the bolts, which we know that are the opposite of a Stella. You know, we do not want these. If you were to get a certain amount, you get expelled. And she's coming in and trying to check on the classrooms. She believes that she's got a very good, I guess, stern eye, and she'll, get you for messing up. But she's checking the students for specifically having handkerchiefs. Like, I thought that was kind of dumb, a waste of a good portion of this episode, honestly. But everyone has to go through and make sure that they have this. The reason for is because she wants to make sure that all students have what they need, and that being one of them. Unfortunately, Damien doesn't have one, and so if he doesn't, he's going to get his bolt. And so what happens is Anya, being Anya, actually offers hers, and it actually works. We see that she's able to fool the teacher as well as him, and she gave it to him thinking that she had a second one. Well, turns out that was not the case. So Damien passes, doesn't get one, but unfortunately, because she did not, she ends up having to get one. And this sucks. Absolutely sucks. Because now she has a bolt. She has to work against it, trying to get less bolts and get those Stellas. That is the whole mission. And now we see that Damien was actually going to try to correct the situation. But we see that thanks to her reading his mind, or reading the teacher's mind, it's like, no, I gotta protect him. Can't. I'll just take the fall. And it sucks. And you can't wait to hear or see Lloyd's reaction. And we see that he kind of freaks out when that happens. And so the first portion of the episode does end. And we then go to see the past of Lloyd. Now, we actually do not know his real name. He and his friends, we see, were playing around as soldiers, and he didn't have anything that was, I guess, like what his friends had, like, which was like the fake gun and the helmet. He had a wooden one that I believe he created himself. Now, he comes from a family in which they don't believe the war is actually going to happen, and they want him to focus more on his studies, that he's a smart kid. His father is very disappointed in him, and we see that when he talks to his father, he actually gets slapped by him, which honestly was very unexpected, very rude, and you feel bad for Lloyd. He wants to be like his friends, he wants to be around them, and war is coming. And so we see that, he has to lie to his parents, saying that, hey, father, I actually want to be able to buy a book that would be great for what I'm trying to study for. And his father being so happy about it, he's like, oh, finally, you're applying yourself. You want to do better. Fine. Here, have some money. Go ahead and buy you that book. And he ends up using that money to buying what his friends have, and then they're going to go play. But the fact that he feels guilty for what he did doesn't allow him to play with them that day. And he actually decides to try to get that money back, and talking to the lady where him and his friends usually go for to get I believe it's a sandwich, a croissant or something. a crescent roll, I think. And we have, him eating there and just kind of feeling a bit sad. However, things change in a matter of seconds, because as he is there, we see a bomb coming down and destroys a building that is probably the next street over. And then bombs starting to fall different places, and one in front of his direction. And had he not worn his helmet, and I said this when I watched it, I was like, oh, had he not had that helmet when he did, he would have gotten bonked in the head, and that would have killed him. But we see that thanks to that, he is able to be safe, but he was not expecting something like this to happen. So now we're going to be going into the dark portion of his life.